You know, about 21 years ago, a little over 21 and a half years ago, this show, I don't know if you can see them very well. Bonkers came to be. Now, what some people probably don't know is Disney's Bonkers actually debuted in 1992 as part of Raw Tunage on television. But a little bit of trivia here, Bonkers and his friends from Fondier, Grumbles, and Jitters made the official debut before Raw Tunage. In fact, they made the official debut in a 7-minute featurette animated short called Petal to the Metal, like rose petals and all that. Pedal to the Metal, which was shown before the Three Ninjas movie back in 1992. So you kind of knew that Disney had some kind of plans for the Bonkers character, because here you have a character that some still think or believe made his debut on Raw Tunage, but actually made his debut as a 7-minute theatrical featurette. So it kind of told you that Disney had some plans for this character and the characters that related to him or associated with him in some way. So when Raw Tunage came out, it not only, I think, re-aired the, not re-aired, but showed the broadcast the television debut of the featurette as part of its rotation, but it also started showing other, other shorts involving Bonkers and his friends. So that was good and everything, because you got to know the character a lot more. You got to see him in other adventures, if you will. So the following year, Raw Tunage was more along the lines for the following year. Because the following year, in the spring of 1993, we kind of got an idea what Raw Tunage was doing. Raw Tunage was basically setting up Bonkers for his own show, which would take place from a continuity and storyline perspective post Raw Tunage and post acting career, whatever you want to call it. So, that's what it was doing. And one of the things historically about Bonkers was originally 65 episodes had been pinned and planned and ordered that it would feature Bonkers and Miranda Wright. And when these episodes were being animated overseas and they were brought back, a majority of them were less than stellar, to the point that only 19 officially survived. The other 42, or not 42, but the other, let's see, the other 26, I should say, did not 26, trying to think. It was 19, basically almost 20 out of 65. So basically 46 of the episodes, or at least 42 of the Miranda episodes, did not survive. 19 did, 42 didn't. So that was kind of a surprise there. So what happened is you had somebody else come in, another team be brought in, and the head guy in charge of this team, I think it was Larry Latham or something, said, you know what, screw the Miranda stuff right now. Let's focus on how Bonkers became a cop, and let's give him somebody that is kind of not a real tune lover at heart, not a real tune enthusiast at heart, but yet his family is. So yeah, according to some people, Disney may have taken a page out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which of course is a Disney property in some ways, if not most ways. So basically this Larry Lantham, I think that's what his name was, came in, rewrote a majority of the Bonkers show, and basically said, okay, we're gonna focus on how he became a cop, why he got fired, that's leading him to become a cop, how he, how the, how, basically it was more of the origin of how he became a cop and how basically the chief mistook at first, along with Lucky, at first, everything that Bonkers had done in his acting career as a career in police force. So I know that sounds a little confusing, but anyway, long story short, they took out the premise of the Miranda one, brought in the premise of how he became a cop, and the Lucky, and the ideas of him being paired up with a more gruffy, non-tune enthusiast, if you will, and Lucky Bacall, who slowly started to grow on the tunes, if you will, kind of via Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and basically made the show a little bit more darker, in a sense, made it a lot more darker. So you had that happen. You basically had 42 episodes originally with Miranda be tossed out because they came back not so spectacular. You had the whole team, the whole original team, get replaced by a new team, and the head guy in charge of this team says, okay, we're going to go in this direction. We're going to explain how he became a cop, how he got fired, which led to him becoming a cop, and, the rest is history. Again, I know it sounds confusing, and I apologize. So, when this happened, one thing that Larry Lantham, and I will give him credit, Disney acknowledged was he knew Disney was going to be airing the 9 Miranda episodes along with 10 more during the Disney afternoon. So he realized he had to put something together that connected both shows. Now, from a production standpoint, the Miranda episodes, of course, came first. But since Larry went into the direction of saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to present the show, chronologically and continuity-wise, the Lucky adventures, the Lucky stories came before Miranda's. So what did Larry Lantham do to kind of get to this? Well, here's what he did. He kind of dropped some hints. We saw a cameo of Miranda as a secretary in one of the episodes. One of the Lucky episodes, I should say. Then we saw at the end of one of the other episodes, you have one of the human characters that Bonkers has had a history with, finally come around to him, kind of acknowledge him as being good, and finally say, hey, maybe you should have a show where you're a cop, and maybe your partner should be a woman. And then Bonkers hints at the end, maybe a blonde. So you kind of got the hints thrown here and there that something was coming. Even though you probably knew or didn't know it was coming. So fast forward, we get New Partners on the Block. And New Partners on the Block was basically Larry Lantham's way of saying, okay, I'm tying both continuities together. This is going to help lead into the Miranda episodes, and the rest is history. And that's exactly what it did, because at the end of the episode, spoiler alert for nobody that's seen it, Miranda and Bonkers become a team. They become partners, and Lucky ends up going into the FBI in Washington, D.C. So that's all cool and everything, right? And thus, that's how we lead into the 19 Miranda episodes that survived. Now, during this whole time of the airing of the show, you had 4 episodes that were compilation episodes, which were basically compilations of the animated shorts that were aired on Raw Tunage, along with some new footage of things like basically like my cartoon kind of deal. So you had these little segments thrown in there, the Rubber Room song segment thrown in there, just all these things thrown in there. But basically, 40 episodes were compilation episodes, so that you could see all the Bonkers shorts that were, when they were part of Raw Tunage, were only aired individually on a weekend basis. It's like every Saturday you had to tune in to see it. Here, you could see it all together. You could see like 3 weeks worth in 22 minutes. So, where did Bonkers go wrong in the eyes of fans? With all that I just said, and I apologize if it sounded confusing and all that, where did he go wrong? Where did the show go wrong? Well, quite honestly, I don't think it really went wrong anywhere. You know, from watching it from a storyline perspective, I thought it was a pretty good show. I loved the concept of it. Yeah, it did take a lot of elements, if you will, originally from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm not denying that. But to me, it was a decent enough show. So the question is, where did it go wrong? Well, like I said, I don't think it really went wrong anywhere because it flowed. It was pretty good. And the fact that you had at least Larry Lantham, the guy that took over for Dwayne Capizzi. Dwayne Capizzi was the guy that did the Miranda episodes along with Greg Weismer of Gargoyles, that is, who actually said that Miranda and Bonkers' relationship inspired him to do Goliath and Elisa as a relationship. Uh, Larry Lantham, I'll give him credit, knew exactly what had to be done because he didn't want to confuse people. And when he wrote New Partners on the Block, to me, I think he went to Dwayne Capizzi. I think he talked to Dwayne. I think he talked to Greg and said, "Hey, what is Miranda like? What are those episodes like? Who do I need to bring in?" And thus you had New Partners on the Block, which to me essentially became a sequel to the pilot episode. Because, like I said, it used the same CGI rain. The episode was dark. It basically had that same kind of animation you had in the pilot. So thus it served as a sequel. But again, you look at the positive of how good that episode was, and you still ask yourself, where did it go wrong? I think when people look at Bonkers, it's not the fact that in reality, that I think honestly, in my opinion, I don't think anybody really has a problem with it. I don't think anybody has a problem with Bonkers. I don't think Doug Walker has a problem with Bonkers. I don't think anybody does. I think what they had a problem with is what happened behind the scenes. That's right. I think what they had a problem with is what happened behind the scenes. Because if you can't even get the original 65 episodes, or at least, well, not 65, but original 61 episodes done and completed and brought back to the United States and ready to be aired, and you can only get 19 of them, that's not really saying much in the eyes of fans. To the eyes of fans, to the eyes of the fans, to the eyes of Disney fans, cartoon enthusiasts, if you will, if you can't even get the whole 65 or the whole 61 out of 65 ordered and done, then pretty much you're saying, oops. You know, you're pretty much saying, oops, we made a mistake here, or you're basically showing you don't have faith in the show. Well, to me, I think they have always had faith in the show. Why do you think they freaking gave him a feature, allowed him to make his debut in theaters? Hold on for a second. I'm just checking something there. I mean, why do you think they allowed him to make his debut in theaters? Huh? When you have one of your newest characters, especially a character that you're going to give their own show to, or you're going to dedicate a 65 episode, a weekday afternoon show to, and you allow them to debut in a theatrical featurette on the big screens, if you will, whether it's cinemas or drive-ins, you definitely show that you have faith in that product. You have faith in that character and the characters associated with him. So to me, I think it was more of an internal situation that caused fans to dislike the premise. It wasn't the characters, it wasn't the stories, as some of the stories might have been ridiculous here and there. It wasn't the premise or anything like that. It was more along the lines of what to me happened behind the scenes. That's why I think why some fans never really gave Bonkers a chance, because of what happened behind the scenes. The fact that if Disney couldn't get the original 61 to 65 episodes of Miranda and Bonkers completed and aired on the Disney afternoon, then to the fan, the cartoon enthusiast, the critics, what chance does this show really have to survive and succeed? And to me, I look at that and I think it's kind of stupid that you have to hate on that. I mean, yes, I agree. It wasn't, yes, I agree. It probably wasn't the best thing for them to do. Just checking my time there. Well, not checking my time, just checking something there. But again, like I said, I agree. It wasn't probably the best thing for them to do. I mean, when you think about it, probably wasn't the best thing for them to do because it basically, like I said, in the eyes of many fans who were looking forward to this, it kind of caused them to lose faith. To the critics that probably saw potential in it, it caused them to lose faith. So, I believe, in a sense, that, the real reason people have a problem with Bonkers is not because of what the show's about, not because of the premise of the show, not because of the characters themselves, and not because of the storylines, or even the continuity deals, or the chronological situation. It's more along the lines of what happened behind the scenes. And what happened behind the scenes is what caused people to kind of be a little conflicted about what was going on with Bonkers. I mean, if you didn't watch the preview on Disney Channel, you pretty much would assume the Lucky episodes came first, right? But when you saw the Disney Channel airing Miranda episodes as a preview, and then you see the Lucky episodes later on during the Disney afternoon, it does confuse you a little bit, like what's going on here. I thought they were going to have this blonde girl or this blonde lady be his partner. And then later on you kind of get that connection. Which whether you want to admit it or not, you got to give Larry Lantham and Disney at least credit for saying, hey, we made a mistake here, we need to rectify it. We need to clean it up, we need to fix it. And by doing New Partners on the Block, that's what they did. Now, unfortunately, not many people are going to be able to see New Partners on the Block unless you go to YouTube. And whether you can find an English version or a Russian version, it's the only way you're going to see it. It's the only way. I am fortunate enough to basically say I have the English version thanks to a friend. I can't think of her name right now, but a couple years ago, you could find it here on my YouTube channel. I stood in the backyard over here on a nice spring day, and I said on a nice day in January, basically about a couple years ago, about 3-4 years ago, and I said, if anybody